Hello, everybody. John Campaneski. Hope your evening is going well and that your holiday season has started off with all the normal pleasantries that come right after Thanksgiving, including finals. Um, 1 to 2 minute video explain how social emotional learning and social justice fits into the leadership journey. Also address do I truly believe in restorative practices and P.B.I.S. That's like a 10 to 20 minute video. And so my apologies, but there's no way I'm going to be able to address that in 1 to 2 minutes. I'll keep my comments brief. Anyway, starting off with social justice. In terms of my leadership style, it's kind of going to mirror my teacher style in that social justice was the entire reason I kind of got into education. I wasn't really looking at teaching as a career, and I needed one class to keep my full-time status in college. And so my mom, who was my advisor and also a member of the English department, suggested I take a education class, and I kind of ho hummed about it and remember that I had a horrible experience with teachers in secondary school, and ended up taking the class. And the professor, Dr. Mark Davies, that first lecture just talked about education as a tool for social justice, for promoting equity, for giving people the tools to not only recognize it but do something about it. Through democratic process and also through um, working with each other collaboratively. And I was hooked, and actually marched right out of that class and down to my mom's office and declared myself an ed major, which added a year and a half to my college career, but turned out for the best, I think. So, anyway, I think social justice needs to be present in everything we do in a school. And I really think that education is the way that we can truly promote social justice in society. And the fact that social justice wasn't particularly popular in the 80s and 90s might be manifesting itself right now in some of the situations we see politically in our country and also around the world. Um, Social emotional learning, I believe, is probably more necessary now than it ever has been before, mainly because of all these screens that we have in front of us all the time, parents, students, and teachers. You're watching me on the screen right now, and I'm recording myself on the screen right now. And I think all these screens that our students are exposed to have kind of taken away from their ability to react socially and emotionally to each other, and also empathize and sympathize and kind of recognize emotional, I almost want to say outcries that we have as human beings that might prompt another to say, "Hey, are you okay?" And maybe if any of we can look at any of the epidemics in this country right now, maybe we can attribute that to the fact that we don't kind of keep an eye on each other as much as we should because we're hiding behind our little screen-based world. Some of us are, not all. Um, and so, in terms of social emotional learning, I think it's really necessary that we're teaching these skills in school because I don't necessarily think in our screen based world kids are getting what they need to get in terms of a social or emotional learning experience. Example of this would be recently I went to Chili's for dinner, and gymnastics team was there, and I went over to the table. Several of my students were there and was kind of making small talk, and they all kept staring at their phones, and I asked them what they were doing, and they're like, "Oh, we're talking to each other." And I said, "The people at the table?" They're like, "Yeah, we're texting each other." And while I know the coach was there, I think it was indicative of the times that the kids were choosing to have a conversation with each other, and they were seated right next to each other on screens, uh, typing, on their phones, as opposed to just having a true social interaction and showing their emotions to each other. And so I think that little example there kind of highlights the need for us as educators to shift our practice and possibly provide a little bit more in the area of social emotional education than has been done in the past, because I do think we need it nowadays. Do I truly believe in restorative practices and P.B.I.S? I was not a believer at first. As a matter of fact, I thought it was some namby-pamby bullcrap. I was kind of more of a traditionalist, having come from a school district where traditional education was kind of, or traditional discipline practices in education was kind of the norm. And so when I came into my current position, and this was not this year, but the year before, and learned all these P.B.I.S and RJ practices, at first I thought, well, they're probably not going to work. And I will admit I did not implement them probably with the fidelity that I should have. But as I implemented and tried different strategies and kind of tricks more and more, I realized that it was actually a pretty effective system, to the point where now I actually use it pretty much exclusively in terms of how I look at, reintegration into the classroom environment when a student acts out or kind of looking at the 3-to-1 ratio. You always say three good things to one bad thing with a student. Um, and I think it's really kind of helped me build a positive relationship with my students and also help them to trust me when it comes to going through the harder lessons and having to kind of pull them along with me. Um, and restorative practice I think is I don't think it's often really well understood for the processes that it has, and also for the amount of collaboration and communication that it promotes. But I find that once people get involved with it and they give it a shot, they kind of begin to believe in it a little bit. And so, anyway, I hope everyone's semester is going well. I kept it to 6 minutes. So, again, my apologies for going over length, but those are my elaborations on this week's discussion.